This video is going to cover vocabulary in Unit 6 that goes over factoring. Before we can get into factoring, we want to be able to make sure we know how to put things in standard form, how to classify them, and use the terminology correctly. So there are three words that we've already learned, well really four. We learned monomial, binomial, and trinomial, and we talked about these back in Unit 1 when we were talking about polynomials for this first time. And the reason why I have those all under an umbrella for polynomial is because polynomial can be the umbrella term for all of it, right? A monomial is technically a polynomial, but it gets a special name for a reason. So monomial, binomial, and trinomial are special names for polynomials, but they're all considered polynomials. So a monomial is something that is one term, okay? So it consists of one term. Terms are separated by plus and minus signs. So for example, 3x is one term, okay? It's not two terms, right? There's a variable and a number there, yes, but they're not two separate things. So another example of one term or a monomial would be 5. 5 is a monomial. Or 2xy squared. That is still a monomial. Remember that terms are separated by plus and minus signs. So these are all considered one term, a monomial. A binomial is something that has two terms. Okay? So something that has two terms would be like 2x plus 5. Those are two terms. They are separated by a plus or minus sign. And terms can consist of numbers, variables, or a mixture of them. Another example of a binomial, which is two terms, would be 3x squared minus 17x. That is two terms. A trinomial, hopefully you have maybe been able to guess, that is three terms. So the root words here are mono, bi, and tri. Mono means one, bi means two, and tri means three. An example of a trinomial would be 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. Or let's do plus 3. Mix it up a little bit. So again, terms are separated by plus and minus signs. Now let's talk about what degree is. Degree is how we classify polynomials, and you classify them by the highest degree exponent. Okay? So whatever the highest exponent is, that's going to be the degree of that entire polynomial. Now I do have a star next to that last one because that one is treated differently. So let's go ahead and classify this first example. We have 2x squared minus 3x plus 8. Well, the highest degree, the highest exponent here is the 2. So this is going to be a second degree, and we want to go ahead and classify it. And by classify, I mean describe the kind of polynomial it is. Yes, it's a polynomial, but remember, if it has 1, 2, or 3 terms, it has a special name. So this would be a second degree trinomial because it has 3 terms. The degree comes from the highest exponent. The trinomial comes from the fact that it has 3 terms. In our second example, the highest exponent here, now don't get tripped up. Remember, if the exponent isn't written, what's really there? There's really a 1 there as our exponent. So the highest exponent that I see, whoops, I'm trying to get rid of that. There we go. The highest exponent I see is a 1. So this is a first degree. Okay, this is a first degree. And how many terms are there? There's 2 terms. So this is a first degree binomial. Okay, now there are some informational notes on that Canvas page, so make sure you read through all of those as well. You don't want to just rely only on this video because there is a lot of important information on there too. Okay, the last one I have a star next to, and the reason why I have that is because we have to treat monomials a little bit differently. So remember that a monomial is something that has one term. If it has one term, the degree is going to be the addition of all of the exponents that you see. Okay, so in the past, it's whatever term had the highest exponent. You would treat every polynomial like that except for when it's a monomial. If it is a monomial, you would add all of them. So the exponents that I see are 2 and 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So this is a 5th degree monomial. I'll go ahead and create another example so that we have another reference here. Let's do 7w squared c7 p to the third. Okay, now this is a monomial, right? It's only one term. Remember that terms are separated by addition and subtraction, so this is still one term. Because it's a monomial, to classify its degree, we would have to add up all of the exponents. 2 plus 7 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12. So this is a 12th degree monomial. Okay, notice how it has nothing to do with the coefficient in the front. And lastly, we have standard form. Now, standard form is ordering your polynomial from highest exponent to lowest exponent. Sorry for all the tapping. My Apple Pen is very loud and I write really hard. So you want to order from the highest exponent to the lowest exponent, left to right. Okay? You want to go from left to right. So starting on the left, you're going to do the highest exponent. So looking at all of my terms here, the highest exponent I see is the 7. So that term is going to come first. Negative 5x to the 7th is going to come first. And I like to cross them off so I know that I'm finished with them. The next highest exponent I see is the 4. Remember, we're looking at the exponents, not the coefficients. So the next term would be 2x to the 4th power. Okay, now notice how I'm bringing their signs with them. Notice how the 5x to the 7th was negative, and I made sure to write the negative there. Okay, the next highest exponent I see is a 1. Remember that the exponent on the x here is technically a 1, so it would be plus 3x. The reason why I know it's positive is because if it was negative, it would have had a minus sign. Now, the 9 actually has a 0 degree, so the 9 would actually come last. Typically, constants, which are numbers that are by themselves, have a degree of 0, so they would come last. So that is standard form, and that is your vocab for Unit 6.